Hello, everybody, and hello to our guest, Kieve Huffman. How are you today, Kieve?
I'm doing great, Rachel. How are you?
Good, good. So I'd like to say thank you to the Beard Bros, Jeff, Bill. We've got Brian Holler. We've also got Braden backstage, making sure we stay on point here. Um, so today we want to focus our podcast on wellness. That's why we brought Kieve in. Kieve, I've watched your social media channels and your posts on LinkedIn, and I love your focus on wellness and health and your journey and how you integrate that into work, in your career, and you're an inspiration. So I thought it would be amazing to have you on our show here. And so if you'd like to tell us maybe a little bit of first about Engager Global, that would be amazing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me on, Rachel. It's definitely something I'm looking forward to discussing because wellness is something that really speaks to me. It's from a lot of personal relationships, parents, relatives, myself have had a lot of health issues and got sucked into sort of the pharmaceutical world. And so I've really made it my mission to help support the brands and businesses that are bringing more plant-based solutions, natural, holistic products and solutions to the world. So Engager Global, we're providing an infrastructure and support for the businesses and brands that are doing that. And we're also providing a number of marketplace opportunities to connect these brands into different audiences, which we can talk a little bit about later. But in general, just all about helping people learn more about wellness and to improve their own lives and the lives of those around them.
Yeah, so if you want to just tell us maybe a little bit about your personal experience and personal story in health and wellness and why this is important to you, I think that would be great.
Absolutely. So my mother has a number of health conditions. She's had lupus arthritis for most of her adult life. She ended up getting chronic shingles, and then she was one of the 10% poor thing that got chronic pain from shingles in the back of her neck, and she's like got some diabetic issues, and she's just had a lot of challenges. And I recall showing up at her house one day and just looking at the dresser drawer, and there were just this line of pills there, and I was like, how many pills are you even on right now, right? And how did you get on these? It's like, well, this one I was put on to help me with this, and it did support that. And but then it caused another issue, which meant that I had to take another pill, and one thing led to another. And I think it was close to a dozen pills. So at the time, I was running Prohibited Media, which was one of the larger cannabis media companies back in, we ran that from 2015 to 2020. And I had access to a lot of caregivers here in California. And we were able to get her off of about half of her meds through cannabis products and plant-based products, which was amazing. She's in Pennsylvania. And unfortunately, what ended up happening is once Pennsylvania went legal, she's like, oh, you don't have to send me care packages anymore. I'll just take care of it out here. And as I think you know, Rachel, there's not a lot of knowledge transfer that happens state to state. So all of these amazing caregivers who had years and years of experience in California, she was kind of starting from scratch with people in Pennsylvania. And then also the supply chain was a lot less regular. And so unfortunately, she's ended up kind of moving back onto a lot of different of these pharmaceuticals. So when I expanded my reach beyond just cannabis to really start to include all plant-based and natural, holistic healing modalities and products and services. And I'm working now with brands really, across the entire spectrum because as I've learned is like, cannabis as one instance, like it's such an amazing plant, and there's so many amazing things that it can do, but it's not right for every single ailment, right? It doesn't cure all different things. And so but yeah, that's kind of the personal journey. It was really driven by my mother and just seeing all these pills that she was on and going, she's gonna those pills are going to kill her before any of like the actual ailments that she has. So, that was a thing. And then from a personal story, I was running around with my son when he was 5 years old. He's a soccer player. He's now 16,
Mm.
uh, club soccer player. And I was wheezing. I couldn't keep up with him. And I was like, well, he's only going to get faster and stronger. And I don't want to be that dad with the beer belly sitting on the side, like sideline screaming at my kid. I want to be active. And it
Right.
unlocked a lot of things for me of like, oh, wow, I actually want to be healthy I want to be around for him for a long time. And so that started my own personal health journey of starting to introduce different routines, different natural products, different structures, and kind of ended up, I've got sort of my routine and my stack, as they call it now, that helps me feel like I just took my biological age test with the biomarkers, and I'm 14 years younger than my chronological age. So I'm doing something right.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I need to take one of those. Yeah.
They're
I mean,
fascinating.
yeah, for sure. And I'd say, the same for me as well, making sure that, health is a lifestyle. I am a busy CEO and, fractional CFO of a couple of companies. And, I go, 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 7 days a week, really. When I'm not spending time with the family and things like that, it's kind of never ending, right? And so how do I keep up with that and have, mental clarity, emotional, and like we were talking about the three sides: spiritual, emotional, mental, physical. There's four sides actually, right? And so how do we nurture all these different elements and aspects and create space for our wellness, for our own wellness, while having busy lives, right? And part of this is also the physical side of this, which is making sure, we drink plenty of water, have our vitamins, the correct vitamins, the correct exercise. I have teenage kids and I have an older child as well, and I'm over 40, full disclosure. And it's like, I want to be the most fit that I've been, and I think I am actually in my 40s than I was, say, in my 30s, because I know better how to take care of myself. And, I try to teach those around me and those with my company. I try to lead by example. And I think that's really, really important. And how do you keep such a high paced life, accomplishing so much, wake up in the morning with just as much energy, right? And it's a lifestyle of kind of well-being, and we're living in a different generation nowadays where 40, 50, 60 mean something completely different than they did 30, 40 years ago. We have a lot of resources, a lot of studies at our disposal, and we might as well take advantage of those.
Absolutely. I think most people that are alive today are, if using the information that we have available, if they're willing to make the right lifestyle changes, there's no reason why they can't live a happy, healthy, active, mentally and physically active life over 100. I mean, it's like it's really all there. So you're right, everything's been shifting. And so I think, you know, having been a CEO and having been a C-suiter at a lot of different companies, and in particular working in the cannabis industry for as many years as I did, um, finding that balance for myself was incredibly important, because you know you're you're only going to be so effective for your business if
Mhm.
you're healthy and happy. If you've got your health together, right? I've saw a lot of of friends and colleagues and business partners who didn't take care of their health, that especially when things started to not go well in the business, they really spiraled, because it doesn't take much. It's like if you're not physically and mentally strong when you have to come up against some of the challenges of being a senior executive, then you're really doing it. Honestly, you're doing it not only a disservice to yourself and your family, but to your business.
Right. I mean, it's ultimately profitable to have the C-suite executive leadership team be healthy in all aspects, as well as, lead by example to the rest of the staff, right? So outside of just it being good for the business culturally, it's actually also profitable for the business, for the leaders to take care of themselves, right?
Absolutely. Well, it leads to better corporate culture, corporate morale, and by leading by example, not everyone's going to follow the example, but many do. And like, look, if the leadership are taking care of themselves this way, then I'm going to do the same thing. I need to keep up with them, and I need to be a good, member of this company. And as a result, you're going to have more productivity, fewer sick days, just all these. It's like your business, and I don't know how to put a percentage lift to that. I'm sure someone has done some studies, but it definitely makes a difference if you're out there as a senior executive, as a C-suiter, leading by example. It's only going to make your business more effectively run.
Right. And so also as a C-suite executive leader, how do you look out for the rest of your leadership team? Say, for example, if you see somebody flailing and you can tell that they're just really struggling, maybe for a prolonged period of time or even for a short period of time, how do you help them?
Well,
If you
and
yeah,
if you've got their ear, well, I mean, I think we spoke a little bit about this the other day, Rachel. It's like, in particular, it's important for the CEO, because the CEO, that can be a really like lonely position sometimes, right?
right.
And you feel that you don't always have someone. You're the one that's kind of always making sure that everyone else is like doing what they need to be doing or taking care of themselves the way they should be taken care of. Well, who's actually looking out for you? And that's where I think as a C-suiter that's supporting your CEO, whether you be a CFO or COO, sometimes you just got to like check in with them, or just, especially if you're going through tough times, like, hey, are you getting enough sleep? Are you making sure you're drinking enough water? Are you getting exercise? Are you getting out into the sun? Just simple things that are just good for your soul and good for your body and your health. So important. So I think if anyone is going to be able to really support the CEO or any other C-suiter, it's like you've got to kind of be on the lookout amongst yourselves and supporting yourselves, because particularly if you're one of the ones that is taking care of yourself a bit more than the others, is and it's tough, especially if it's the CEO, like telling them like, well, you really need to be taking better care of yourself. But ultimately, any CEO that's kind of worth their salt is going to listen, because they're going to realize that not only are you looking out for them personally, but you're really looking out for the best interests of the business, right? It's like, you need a strong, healthy CEO if the business is going to be successful.
Yeah, and you need a strong, healthy, if you have COOs or any other C-suite executive leadership teams, they're ultimately leading teams. And so if they're not well, they're not going to lead a productive, happy team either. And so keeping a pulse on that, I think, is really, really important. And one of the things I look out for is vacations, taking time off, It's like, okay, if you have a vacation or a PTO policy, are you actually taking it? And are you maybe taking it all at one time, instead of maybe spreading it out over the year and ensuring that you take time off throughout the whole year? It's like, if you're saving all your vacation for like one time a year, to me, that's too late. You know, if you take staycations, we live in California. It doesn't matter where you live. You just take a staycation. I was talking to one of our C-suite folks over the weekend, and she's like, "Oh, I'm in Palm Springs," and I'm like, "Oh my God, amazing!" And so I said, "Okay, I'm going to let you have your pool time. I'm going to get out a few seconds of what I have to say because this may be the only opportunity I have to talk to you. But then after that, forget about what I said and like have your pool time." And so I think we also need to respect the fact that when somebody is out of town, maybe, or taking some time off, respect that time. Don't dump everything on them. And same with employees too. When employees take time off, make sure they have their time off because everybody needs time to have their neurons, you know, re, repaired and to have that downtime to unwind because then they come back and they're actually in much better mental and emotional state. So I think that that's really, really important in checking. That's one way that I check in with other folks, because ultimately that's culture. Culture is productivity, productivity is profitability, and it's longevity, right? This is not a race. And in cannabis, as we know, and any other industries, but definitely in cannabis, it's like dog years. And so we have to take care of ourselves for the long haul. And I don't know if you've seen people kind of burn themselves out, wear themselves out, and they're here for 3 years and then they're gone. And that's evidence of not taking care of yourself, right?
Oh yeah, definitely seen it quite a bit, unfortunately, in this industry. And I think it's such a important point you make about what as it relates to the vacation time is leading by example again is, I worked with the CEO who we had a very generous policy. In fact, we had one of those policies where it was unlimited vacation, right? It was like you can take as much vacation as you need, as long as you're getting your work done, throughout the year, then that's great. Well, that policy is not that effective if your CEO never takes a vacation,
Right.
so as a result, he wasn't leading by example. So people felt guilty taking a vacation, right? Because like, well, the CEO's never taking a vacation. So even though I've got unlimited vacation, I don't really feel like I've got unlimited, right? And so, it's really like, and he was the type that would also like check in on people while they were on vacation. And yeah, it's look, time off is so important. I mean, just the whole mental health, side of things. For me personally, a non-negotiable is that I do a 10 to 20-minute meditation every morning. Depends on how much time I have, but just being able to have that, okay, this is just me time. This is just my time to sort of recalibrate, refocus, just take my mind off of things. That's kind of what a vacation is, right? In a way, it's sort of like this extended opportunity to just take a little break. Like the human brain needs that, especially when you're working in the pressures of an industry like this, right? Where when you're on the job, there's so much pressure. You've got to be on it because chances are you're dealing with fire drill almost every day of
Every
some
day.
sort. And so, yeah, so I think that point that you made about the vacation is important one. I just wanted to
Yeah.
harp on that.
No, definitely. And how about with the workforce? How can we initiate initiate a culture of wellness and even like plant pharmaceutical over or plant wellness over pharmaceutical wellness, just kind of wellness in general?
Yeah, I'm starting to see some different
Mm.
programs. I'm working with a company right now that actually has a platform that allows for all the employees to have access to wellness coaches or educational information. I think education overall is something when it comes to plant-based wellness that's very lacking throughout, whether you're talking about in the workforce or just anywhere. There's a lot of information out there about cannabis maybe, but a lot of other plant type products, there's maybe less. And certainly it's not really all in one place. So I'm starting to see where people are providing sort of wellness platforms where you can go and you can speak to a practitioner who can help guide you. And I think that different people have different needs. Some people, it's more of a physical need, that they've got maybe some sort of health, like physical ailments or issues that they need dealt with. And then others, it's more of a mental aspect. They're having some mental struggles. And like, there are a lot of great plants that, like, for instance, I've been starting to experiment with Kana. I don't know how familiar you are, but it's a heart opener. And it's just an amazing, it's a very subtle plant, but when used correctly, it just helps to relax you and to open you up and to have you just, in a better mental state to be able to take on sort of whatever it is. But I think last I checked, only 2% of Americans even know what Kana is. Right. So it's giving, I think, the opportunity to be educated and understanding that everyone's needs are slightly different, and being supportive of that, I think, is just going to be really important. And particularly now, it's even more important since we have so many remote workers, right? That, like, a lot of the workforce is now, not in a single office. Like, I was going to ask you, Rachel, because I think you've got this remote work. Like, how do you manage a remote team and try to keep them all healthy and happy?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say for me, it's first having our PTO policy is massive, making sure that it's extensive. And then also, we're able to provide, really good health insurance platform. So that's that. And I would say I do check in with my team members, especially leadership, and I say, "Are you taking your vitamins? What vitamins are you taking?" I'm not like a mom, making sure they're taking their vitamins, but I say, I take this, and I just, wherever possible, insert into the conversation what I'm doing that day. Like, oh, I'm going out for a half an hour hike. It doesn't have to be this massive undertaking, right? I'm going out to get some sunshine today. And I'll check in with certain team members who I may notice are looking unhealthy and or sounding unhealthy. And I just kind of check in with them. That's a big undertaking. And then I also ask that our managers check in with their teams in that way and just be more sensitive to really deeply listening to people when they're talking and sense whether they seem off or not. And so I would say it's very hard, right? Like, we're not there in person with people, so we can't, and we also can't control people. People are going to ultimately make their own decisions. But I think when people who have worked with me for like 15 years or 10 years, and they say, "Rachel, you're looking better than you did when I met you even 15 years ago," it's like, wow. Well, okay, so what do you think? How can you maybe incorporate that into your life? How can you how can you also be healthy? Because again, like, lead by example, but there's only so much we can do, right? And so what would you suggest, I guess, in a remote workforce environment?
I think everything you just said is amazing. I think that I've always found helpful just those, like, it's the same thing that you would do in a physical office, where maybe you pull someone aside after a meeting and just say, "Hey, how are you doing?" Like, no, how are you doing? Like, doing those check-ins, that this isn't a business check-in. This is a personal, like, "Hey, is everything okay? I just want to make sure that, you've got the support you need from me, that you're taking care of yourself." Like, those kinds of personal touches, I think, in the remote world are even more important. They're harder because you kind of almost have to, like, almost have to like schedule it, right? In a
Right.
way, like to be able to do it, because it's like you have to schedule sort of, or I guess there could be, say, if you have a group calls like, hey, could you just stick around, you know, at
Yeah.
after everyone? And I just want to, but yeah, I think that those are all really important things. And then I think um, the other thing that sometimes I do is, look, as I was saying before, everyone's kind of, on their own program. Everyone's body's different. Everyone's kind of, the way their brain works is slightly different. But sometimes I'll have an employee come to me and say, Keith, just, so what do you do? What's your stack? What's your routine? And I'm happy to share it with you now. I'd love to learn your stack,
Yes.
kind of your thing, because I think men
Yeah.
and women have different, kind of, needs and stacks. But basically for me, it's like, get up, I drink a full glass of water.
Mhm.
Ideally, if it's got some minerals in it, or I've been taking um, this it's called Make Wellness. It's a hydration pack that's got like all these amazing salts and electrolytes and minerals. So hydrating. I take a walk outside and get some sunlight. Look into the sun, kind of keep my circadian rhythm going. Um, and then I come home and do a 10 to 15-minute meditation, right?
Mhm.
All this without looking at my phone. Phone is on airplane mode until after I take a shower.
Mhm.
And if you can do that, like alone, that like really kind of can set your day up for success. And then I've got some different things where I'm taking some natural peptides in the morning that help with energy and sort of some other different things. And then I take some different things in the around lunchtime, and then I make sure I just go move around again, because even when you're working remotely, just sometimes you just get stuck, behind that computer, and just reminding people how important it is just to get the blood flowing, to get a little sunlight, even if
Mhm.
the sun's not out, just getting that natural light is really important. And then at night for me, and this is one of the hard ones for me, but trying to turn off the screen at least 45 minutes before I actually go to sleep. And then I take some magnesium and L-theanine, are what I kind of help me wind down.
Mhm.
And so, and then try to do a little gratitude, at the end of the day. What was I grateful for? And just
Love
sort of
that.
grounding. Um, so yeah, that's my routine.
Yeah, that's great. I guess for me, it depends. It really, really depends. My routine changes daily, but like so in the morning, making sure that I drink water. Of course, like you said, I drink big mason jars full of water, and then coffee is a good diuretic. Not to get too personal, but it can help flush out your system. Also, obviously, give you some good energy. This morning, for example, I make sure I schedule my hobbies. So I go ride my horse. It's something that takes me away from. Sometimes I need forced activities to take me away from thinking about work, and they almost have to be like dangerous activities that if I'm not focused on what I'm doing, I could actually hurt myself, or they force you to like stay focused. So twice a week, at least I ride my horse in a lesson. I compete. I'm working on competing. I have two at least private yoga sessions a week where my yoga instructor helps tailor to what I'm ready for. And usually it's like, hey, just give it to me, because I don't, if it's too slow, sometimes again, my mind wanders and it thinks about business. So I have to have forced activities that make me not think about business. And then some evenings, like, so last night, my husband, my kids and I went for an hour. I call it a forced walk out in, I live in Big Bear. So it's nice to take a nice walk. It's forced for the kids because we're like, put your phones away, put them in your pockets. We want to have energy of family. And I think that that's really important. I think connections are very important, whether it's through your families, or if you don't have children or whatever, it's through your community. And that's why I love cannabis, is because it's such an amazing community. And some of the friendships I have in our industry are some of the only ones I have, really, frankly. And so I think having all of that, so being outside, nature, seeing nature, looking at the sky. Also, for me, it's having a regular vitamin routine and things like that. Personally, I only eat keto. I don't eat flour, white sugars, any of that kind of stuff. So I try to keep a very clean eating routine because it helps to keep my mind clear. So I could be at optimal kind of performance. And so and then also making sure, if at all possible, getting full night's sleep. I think that can't be understated. It's huge. And then on the weekends, if possible, I can have a nap. If it's like, okay, hey, I'm shutting all the blinds, locking it down, and I'm taking a nap. And I put on my Calm app, right? And I have the same sleep story that I listen to, and within like 10 minutes of listening to it, I'm out. I'm asleep, and I just let myself sleep. And so we need to catch up on, sleep like that. That's huge.
I want to get that app.
It's an awesome app. There's one story in particular I listen to, and I think my mind is trained so that when I put it on, I just go right to sleep within like 10 minutes. So I think sleep is huge. And just in general, like taking care of ourselves. We're inundated by so much externally, news, work, etc. We have to do this. So I don't know if we're going on time now or if we're close to time, because I've kind of lost track as we're having such a good conversation here. I'd like to talk about and kind of bring it full circle to maybe some of the companies that you're working with, some of the services you're offering. Can you bring it full circle to that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for asking. So one of the areas, so coming from a marketing background, I've built a lot of brands over the years. And one of the things that I would always do before I even started to create a brand was to identify what I consider to be an underserved audience segment that I was going to build that brand for. And so that's something that I'm doing right now with a portal that I built for gamers. That's a wellness portal to try to get some of these kids that are gamers off of Adderall, off of these like horrible energy drinks that they're putting in themselves, off of these junk food, and provide them with natural alternatives. And by starting with gamers, it's provided us with a very specific audience. But what we're starting to see is that a lot of these brands that we're working with, their products aren't just for gamers, but if you're a competitor of any sort, or if, we've kind of divided into three main areas that we focus on. And whether it's, focus, recovery, or energy, those kind of relate to just about any, demographic, right? But we want to start with gamers, and then we're going to start to expand out. So right now, we're working with two sides. We kind of sit in between the brands. So any wellness brands that are offering natural holistic products that would make sense for the gamer audience, we're always looking for new partners to bring on. We're working with about a dozen brands right now, but there are so many more incredible brands out there that we can support on that end. And then we also are providing different influencers and bloggers and podcasters and networks an additional way to generate revenue by providing these brands and services to their audiences, and in exchange for affiliate fees for all of the sales. So always looking for both sides, to kind of, because we kind of sit in between and just connect and make sure that we're matching incredible natural brands in with the right audiences, and providing a revenue opportunity so that everyone wins. And ultimately the end consumer wins because they're getting more natural products and into their systems. So that's really been a lot of my focus. And then I also have a retail component, a physical retail component that's called Rubra, where we're starting in LA. We're putting a wellness footprint of 250 square feet into up to 90 stores nationwide. And it's all natural products from everything from wellness products to longevity and biohacking products. We're working with hemp and CBD products, natural kind of personal care products as well. And actually, we have our own feminine care section that we're building out in this, because one of my co-founders in that, she's like, well, it's really hard to find feminine care natural products out there. And so we're providing a section that's specific to that. So again, just, those are just two of a variety of different sort of ecosystems that I'm starting to build out. But if you're a natural wellness brand or executive that's looking to expand their business, come find me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm very active there. And I'm also at engagerglobal.com. That's the name of my consultancy.
Awesome. I love that. Can you just give us quickly a couple examples of some of the products that you were talking about previously?
Absolutely. So I'm working with an amazing group of people down in actually San Diego. They have a product called Verge Botanicals, and they've been able to find a hemp strain where, when extracted, the varying cannabinoids essentially operate in much the same way that Adderall does. So it really helps with focus and a little bit with energy as well. And so the founder, one of the founders, his wife was on ungodly amounts of daily Adderall, and she's been able to completely wean herself off of it. So it's a natural, plant-based, alternative to Adderall. So that's one of the products. Another one that's actually pretty cool, I'm actually wearing it right now, it's called Tau Patch. And essentially, this is a nanotechnology that works off of your own body heat and the frequencies that your body vibrates to help with regenerating, rejuvenating your joint pains. It helps with a lot of different things. And their big claim to fame was when the tennis player Novak Djokovic basically ripped off his shirt after winning a tournament, and he had one of the Tau patches taped to his chest. And they asked him, they're like, "What is that thing?" And he's like, "This is my secret ingredient." And so their sales went through. But a friend of mine invented this, and it's amazing. But again, it's just, there's so many different elements. Those are just two examples of the types of products, but it's all along the same themes of like providing ways for people to feel better and be healthier without putting chemicals inside of them.
I love it. I love it. So again, Kieve, remind us one more time where we find you, and then we're going to kind of wrap up, and hopefully we've instilled the crowd with some inspiration and education and ways to connect with you as well to get more health and wellness into their lives. Thank you very much, by the way.
No, thank you. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that I just launched a blog called Business of Plants Over Pills on Substack. And if you're a business leader that is interested in plant-based medicines and bringing them out into the market, that's where I'm building out that community. So I can be found there, can always be found on LinkedIn. Just, I'm the only Kieve Huffman on LinkedIn, so you can't miss me. And then you can learn a bit more about some of the other ways I support brands and businesses at engagerglobal.com.
Love it. Thanks so much, Kieve. Good to see you. Hopefully I see you around too.
Great to see you as well, Rachel.
Yeah. Okay, well, and thank you so much, the Beard Bros, for this Financing Your Cannabis Future with Rachel Wright. I'm Rachel Wright of Verdant Strategies. We are a CPA and financial services firm for the cannabis and hemp industries, and we've been servicing the industries for a number of years. So reach out to us as well. And with that, have a great rest of your day.